Alright y'all, welcome back to Common Arms channel. So today's reaction video is going to be a different military. So I've been focusing a lot on services and militaries in the United Kingdom. So now I'm just trying to switch it up and sort of check out other militaries. This one is sort of all-inclusive. So the video that I'm going to be reacting to is actually a Foreign Legion video. A little background for myself, if y'all aren't familiar with my videos, I spent 5 years in the Marine Corps infantry, and then I transitioned over to Army infantry, doing different things, conventional infantry, reconnaissance, close quarter battle team, and I've done, additional training like subterranean combat, and then fast roping, rappelling, a bunch of random stuff like that. So I have a bunch of different experiences, but I have a really good appreciation for being stationed and doing training in certain environments where it's really humid and swampy and miserable. So I saw this video and I definitely want to check it out. So again, I can appreciate what these guys look like they're going through. So French Foreign Legion. I don't know too much about the French Foreign Legion. I know they were started in the 1830s, I believe, and pretty quickly they sort of got like the reputation of being like a mercenary army, which wasn't necessarily something bad because they were definitely seen as an elite unit. So yeah, I know currently they take people from any country. After I think 3 years of serving in the Foreign Legion, you're eligible for your French citizenship, and then I think after 15 years you can actually get a French pension. So that's as far as my knowledge is with the French Foreign Legion. I've heard different ends of the spectrum, but generally it doesn't seem like it's too comfortable of a military service to be in, just because they're asked to do a lot of service in places like Africa and Afghanistan and whatnot. Africa being the biggest one, I think, right now. But the video that I'm looking at right now is actually some of their jungle training. So I think this is their 3rd Infantry Division or Regiment. But yeah, they're located in South America where this jungle training takes place. So yeah, we're going to check it out. I haven't looked at this video in its entirety. It's going to look a little weird because it was originally a 360 video. But yeah, let's get into it and see how hardcore they actually train. So already really cool introduction. So for a jungle training, I know technically that this stuff for like the U.S. military would be like follow on advanced training if you're doing like a specialized training like jungle or mountain or like Arctic warfare sort of stuff. So I'm not sure if it's actually the same for them. I think maybe if they're stationed in South America, they might actually just go to this training anyway. But it seems like it should be a pretty advanced training course for them to actually do like helicopter inserts. It looks like that's what they're doing here. So yeah, pretty cool introduction. I don't know how the funding is for the French Foreign Legion. I'm not sure if they get as funded as the actual French army and whatnot. But so far it seems pretty cool. I haven't seen too much of the equipment they have, but I'm already surprised just by the fact that they're doing something cool and something as advanced as this. Okay, so yeah, the boat isn't as built up or as refined as you'd see for like some other militaries, like as far as like a Zodiac or what have you, or like those fancy rafts. But this sort of like training, as far as like using boats to insert, especially going from helicopter to a boat or a craft like this, it's usually more advanced stuff. For the U.S. military, you probably see it more with SEALs or SWIC, maybe MARSOC, or maybe even Marine Recon. It's usually the people who operate in that sort of stuff. So it's pretty cool to see that they're actually doing like sort of like a multi-echelon, multi-vessel training, so to speak. So I'm not sure where they're going to be taking all of this, but so far it looks really cool. Again, the boat could be a little bit quieter. It's pretty loud, and they're probably going to hear it from pretty far away, and they don't look like they have too much protection. However, it looks like they're going to be inserting off of these. So I think the element of surprise isn't really their big concern as far as using the boats for that sort of stuff. It's literally just to move from point A to point B, and then I think the stealth might come afterwards. But again, this is like a training course. At the same time, it's also like kind of just to beat the crap out of you. So you'll see that there's some obstacles later on in this video. I've sort of clicked through it. I saw that they're doing some obstacles. So it's not necessarily an advanced training in the sense of like getting everyone spun up on a certain thing. It's also to instill that discipline of working in this environment as well. So we're probably going to see a lot of that too. Okay, that was really dope. I haven't done anything crazy like that, but I would love to do that. If someone offered me the opportunity to do some training like that, I would do it in a heartbeat. I mean, you see, after the fact, they're kind of hating their lives, but I might be biting my tongue in that regards. But I would definitely love to do something like that, even if it wasn't in the military. I think it'd just be cool to try it.
Qui c'est qui est limite là?
Ah, moi? Tout le monde est limite là.
On est tous limites. Non, mais qui c'est qui veut que je prenne sa place?
Non, c'est bon, c'est bon, c'est bon.
En position! Serrez les jambes. Pourquoi c'est quoi ça? C'est quoi ça? Je dis, mettez le pied dans l'axe des bras. C'est là où vous avez la force. Il y a toujours des genoux par terre. C'est la merde. Il y a toujours des genoux par terre. On remonte.
Échec! Échec!
Il y en a qui restent couchés, c'est la merde. Debout, tout le monde. Allez, debout.
Okay, so I've done it before where I've done like team push-ups. So you sort of like make a box and doing push-ups like that, and your feet are on like the neck of like someone else, and you're making a box like that. But I've never seen it where it was like a whole zigzag of like a whole squad's worth of people trying to do like squad push-ups like that. So that's pretty funny. If you're not going down at the same time, those can get really miserable really fast. And you can see they're already like soaking wet. So everyone's really heavy and the mobility is just kind of crappy and they're just feeling it already. So it looks like they've just started this training and yeah, they're already having a bad time.
Allez, debout!
Bon, il y a un problème. Vous avez pas la foi. Vous avez pas la foi. Cherchez la foi dans l'eau. Rapidement. Allez, retour dans l'eau. Cherchez la foi.
Allez, rapidement! Allez, rapidement!
Et ça, c'est l'obstacle de la piste Pécari. L'obstacle s'appelle dessus. La piste Pécari, c'est un parcours avec plusieurs obstacles. Avec des contraintes liées au milieu. Donc il y a marée haute, marée basse, et donc les obstacles peuvent changer légèrement, avec d'eau ou pas d'eau. C'est bon? Allez!
That sounds really cool, especially the obstacles changing depending on if it's low tide or high tide. I guess it's low tide right now because you can see they're jumping down and there's no water. It's just like straight mud. Yeah, if you've ever stepped in like really thick mud, especially with like boots or utilities, it's a nightmare because your boots get stuck in it really bad. But even when you pull your boots out and they're just like covered in mud, especially like being in Eastern Europe where the mud's really the soil is really fertile, it sticks to everything. So this is no different. Like the mud just sticks to everything, it coats everything. And if you're covered in mud, it's like you're carrying someone on your shoulders. Like that's how heavy it can feel, especially when you're already exhausted. So I'm interested to see how these obstacles are going to look, because doing anything like that would be kind of nerve wracking for anyone in the armed forces, especially someone who's afraid of heights. But then jumping down into that mud takes a little bit of trust, or just lack of caring. Which once you get like covered in mud and water, you kind of just stop caring at that point.
Obstacle.
Salva!
Salva!
Allez, 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 allez.
Salva!
So at Marine Boot Camp, we do something like similar, not nearly in this fashion, because it's like all controlled and relaxed and you're not really stressed out. But jumping from a 12-foot tower is what we do, jumping into water. I hate it. I'm not a big fan of heights, and I'm even less of a fan of the feeling of falling. So just incorporating that with like an actual obstacle course sounds really cool. Again, once you get to the point where you're soaking wet and you're just jumping in water, like your like personal comfort just goes out the window.
Salva!
Donc les pistes pèlerines, comme je dis, c'est 10 obstacles. Donc ils sont pour chaque obstacle 3 essais. S'il n'arrive pas à passer un obstacle, ben, c'est considéré comme échec. Okay? Donc eux, ils sont venus ici pour faire un stage en jungle, mais en mode agressement. Donc ça veut dire, nous, on cherche à viser le facteur stressant au combat.
Yeah, so sort of similar, basically like stress inoculation, but at the same time, just getting them used to the environment, especially if they're not used to being in like a jungle environment or a humid environment. It can get the humidity and the heat and just the sweat, it can get to someone really quick, especially if they're not acclimated to it. That could be a heat injury. They can, run out of water extremely quickly. Then you get prickly heat, especially when you're dirty and you have dirty clothes. You get something called prickly heat, which basically it feels like there's like little needles poking you all over your back, and it's just like, it's not like life threatening, it's just really annoying to feel. So it's all that stuff combined. You can get acclimated it to a sense, but they're just sort of getting used to understanding what it's like operating in this environment.
Salva!
Numéro, je sais pas, quel numéro?
06. Stagiaire 06, piste Pécari terminée à vos ordres d'instructeur, 0 échec. Pujol, c'est ça.
Something else also really interesting to me is the Foreign Legion. You get people from all over, like completely different countries, completely different backgrounds and cultures, and it's like trying to mold them in one. The United States is one thing where you get like, immigrants, usually someone's parents are from different countries, and it's fine, they can join the military at that point. But like getting someone who literally could have gotten like in country maybe like 2 years prior or something, joining a military where there's like people from completely different cultures and speaking different languages and everything. So it's got to be a struggle getting all these people from different cultures and everything, just trying to get them all under wraps and all working as a cohesive unit. I know a lot of their officers are like proper French officers and whatnot, going through like military academies and whatnot. But even still, like with that amount of discipline and training, there's only so much you can do to actually get someone or get a certain team to work together. But it seems like they manage it pretty well. I mean, especially being, dating back to the 1830s. It seems like they manage it pretty well to the point where they haven't, ruined their reputation as being an elite unit. but I'm sure the struggle is there. But it's still cool to see that they're actually managing to get everything done and work pretty well as a team.
Nous, on cherche à viser le facteur stressant au combat. Donc on l'affaiblit physiquement et psychologiquement. Donc physiquement, c'est avec cette épreuve, donc ils vont arriver fatigués. Et les buts ont tous avec la fatigue et avec les stress qu'on donne, ils développent la capacité de commandement. 3, 2, 1, go!
Oh, qu'est-ce qu'on a parlé? Les songs. Qu'est-ce qu'on a parlé? Les songs. Allez, enlevez là-bas, enlevez cette sonde là. Lequel? Mettez un mousqueton. Une fois il est monté, vous enchaînez. Allez, on enchaîne.
So I like how they're just like chilling there, watching them be miserable. It's cool being on the other side of that sort of training. I can take that from experience. But as far as what they're doing, I've done a few training environments in like stuff like this, like obstacle courses and endurance courses, where it's sort of muddy like this. I mean, I also did a fun mud run that was kind of similar to this in some regards.
You guys are taking way too long. I'm going under it.
Ready, set, go!
But as far as like military obstacle courses, they don't really do this too much as far as the places that I've been in. But being stationed in Fort Polk, Louisiana, and North Carolina and South Carolina, it feels like you're doing stuff like this sometimes. So the acclimatization to the humidity and the heat and everything, and the bugs especially, I have a little bit of appreciation for that. I know how miserable that can get. But when you're muddy and soaking wet, yeah, it is a whole new level. But again, they seem like they're doing pretty well. They're working pretty well as a team. It's just the whole mud and water on wood thing with obstacles doesn't jive well. It's really a pain in the butt to try and go over an obstacle when you're soaking wet and muddy.
Parce qu'il y a des centres d'entraînement comme ici, il y en a pas des masses. Et c'est très difficile parce que déjà les milieux très exigeants avec eux. C'est les milieux qui est difficile. Il fait très chaud, il y a une chaleur humide parfois insupportable. Donc en même temps, ils doivent faire des épreuves physiques. Donc c'est ça qui est le plus difficile.
Allez, on y va.
Someone in the background sounds like they're having a terrible time. Sounds like they're being like tortured or something. I don't know exactly who's making that noise, but it seems like they're all pretty done at this point. They're swinging into that net and they're kind of just hoping that something catches and they don't have to exert too much strength to actually get down. But yeah, again, I have a pretty good appreciation for what he was talking about. He's talking about the wet heat. There's a big difference between humid heat and wet heat and just like dry heat. It really takes way more out of you when it's really humid out, especially in a jungle where there's very little wind or anything to really cool you off besides your own sweat.
Ici,
Attention, on monte pas trop.
de se mettre debout.
Le pied droit descend,
C'est bon?
Voilà, là-bas, c'est bon.
De se mettre
Ok.
debout. C'est-à-dire, je reste.
Ensuite, dos contre le tronc.
Je fais glisser.
Et hop, assis. Ok.
Glisser. Jusqu'à ici.
Pour nous, sécuriser la zone. Un périmètre de 360. Allez, en avant. Sécuriser la zone. En avant. Sécuriser la zone. 360.
Allez, par là-bas. Petite coulée braquée.
Yeah, so I think at this point, as far as being like totally tactical in this environment, that's not really their concern right now. I'm sure they're pretty exhausted, and at this point, it's sort of just like a physical test, is what it looks like. But it looks like they're about to implement like a casualty evacuation sort of thing. Yeah, whenever you think a training can't get any worse, you find out that you're very wrong whenever someone introduces a casualty or something like that, or something heavy that you have to move with you. It looks like that's what's about to happen right now.
On a combien de branches là?
Allez, rapidement, démarchez. Allez, en avant, en avant. Ouais, pour échanger.
Allez, ça change, allez. Arrêtez de marcher. En avant.
Awesome. So that was a cool little like litter setup they had. I'm not sure if that's necessarily for wounded people. If that's the case, I feel bad for those people inside those nets. But yeah, it looks like it might be for like evacuating a body or something like that. But they had like a net attached to a log, and they were using the log to actually move it. Not the most efficient. I'm not sure if that's something they actually practice in the jungle course, or if they're just doing that for like the actual physical portion of this. But yeah, interesting to see. Interested to see how other people implement sort of different tactics and whatnot, even with like casualty evacuation sort of stuff. But yeah, and then they're also implementing fast roping. I'm a huge fan of fast roping. If I didn't say that before, I love fast roping. I love rappelling. So yeah, whenever I see stuff like that, I get excited. So yeah, it seems like they're implementing a lot of facets into this one training. And now I think that their actual jungle training center implements a bunch of different things as far as like different courses and different obstacle courses. I think this was just one of like the 3 or 4 that they actually offer. But again, still pretty cool. It definitely hits a lot of facets of like actual military training, not just like a jungle aspect. And I've heard interviews. I've done a little bit of research into this actual training environment. But you have people who also do stuff like they're eating rats because they run out of food. They don't have enough food, so they start to eat it's not like a rat. It's like just a rodent. He was eating a rodent just because they ran out of food. So I can imagine they might be implementing that, like lack of water, lack of food, and that just adds like a whole nother level of just suck. So I can appreciate what they're going through for sure. It definitely looks brutal. Now, Foreign Legion, again, I haven't heard anything particularly bad. They still sort of hold a reputation as being an elite unit. So I'd like to see more of their training. If y'all have any video recommendations as far as Foreign Legion or something similar, maybe like one of their training courses, feel free to send them my way. I'd love to check it out. But I think the Foreign Legion it's such a cool idea. In like a modern actual like mercenary army that's functioning like relatively well. At least looking from the outside in, it looks like they're functioning pretty well. Again, if you guys find any videos, any documentaries or anything, or know anyone who isn't in the Foreign Legion or served in the Foreign Legion yourself, feel free to send them my way because I love hearing stuff like this. Even any foreign militaries in general, if y'all have any cool videos to send me, feel free to send them my way. I love reacting to this sort of stuff and seeing what different militaries are doing. And again, I can always appreciate the suck that people are going through with certain training. But definitely keep those recommendations coming. I really appreciate you guys. So I appreciate all your recommendations, all your comments. And I like to go through each comment and sort of see what y'all have to say about what I'm saying and, other recommendations that y'all think I should be checking out. But that's it for this video. So I will see y'all in the next one.